Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We are your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how you doing?
Just well, my friend. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. And we have a talking about good movie. I think this week. Definitely, I think one of the better ones that have come out so far this year. We are talking about The Northman, directed by Robert Eggers, released by Universal. It's got a solid cast. We got Alexander Skarsgard, we got Nicole Kidman, we got Anna Taylor-Joy, we got Ethan Hawke, and we got Mr. Willem Dafoe. Basically, this is based off of the legend of Ameth, old time Viking story, which, if I read right, was it was a precursor to like a more common story. I'm just trying to remember, like precursor like Macbeth, I think. Like Shakespeare got inspiration from this to make that.
I could see it.
But this ain't British, this Vikings. Mike, what'd you think?
Well, to put it plainly, it was a relatively good movie. The action scenes were pretty cool when we got them. It's if you're expecting a movie that's nonstop action, this isn't it.
This is a slow-paced Viking drama. This is not an action drama. An action Viking film. My mistake.
Yes, acting was top notch from all actors in the film, high to low.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anybody that stood out like, oh wow, that was just trash.
Like
Everyone
Ethan
kind of
Hawke's only in it for 10 minutes, but he kills his part. Willem Dafoe's in it for less, and he does good with that.
yes, he does. They all do, I should say. Which is kind of rare that, even a lot of the extras that are like one-line extras, everyone plays their part believably. So there's really no slacking in the acting department, if you ask me.
Definitely not.
One gripe I have with a certain scene in the movie is after Alexander Skarsgård starts taking his revenge on his uncle, but doing it stealthily. He mutilates, I think it was two guys, and then basically strings their body parts up in sort of kind of like an art project, you could call it.
Yeah. Up on the cross, right? And then the Vikings initially think, oh, it's the Catholics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Immediately they're like, oh, it's the Catholics. Even though Vikings were predominantly known for doing things of that nature. So it's kind of like, wait, you guys really not.
There's no insider threat here. It's just the fucking Catholics.
Yeah. Like, you guys are famous for performing the fucking Blood Eagle. This is kind of in the realm of that, my friend. So I think you're overlooking something.
Yeah, but I guess I guess apparently they thought they were also loyal to each other. There's no way it could have been one of them, and it couldn't be one of the slaves they bought either.
Yeah, definitely not.
Definitely not. Not the one that's jacked
and Viking looking.
Yeah,
not that one. I mean, technically, they did think it was the slaves because the slaves were Christian slaves for the most part.
Yeah.
The whole twist of his mom kind of being evil, so to speak.
Yeah, being in on the coup attempt and murdering her husband. Yeah.
Yeah, what wasn't really that big of a shock.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, I was like Nicole Kidman in that scene like kills it. So like when she's when she's first saying, I'm like, oh god, oh she's actually in on this. But the more you think about it, it's like, well, anytime we see her around her new husband, you don't get the sense that she's fearing for her life. You don't get the sense that she's miserable. She seems content. And here comes her son out of nowhere being like, I'm here to free you. And she's like, my plan worked. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And the fact that, she survived all this time.
Yeah. You would think if she was properly, if she was not part of this, she would be kept a sex slave for the past 10, 15 years, not living amongst them as their queen.
Not still queen.
Oh,
so yeah.
Still in a lot better position than a lot of other people.
It's a big fact. A lot better position than the late king.
Yeah.
Now, where your opinion differs from is the final fight.
It was a badass fight scene.
I I wasn't a fan of the whole shadows thing. Like, I was kind of hoping for, a gory, brutal fight for the end, and it's mostly silhouettes.
I was fine with that. My only issue with it, and I think you kind of had the same issue, was it's a little short.
Yeah, it was.
Um, what I saw visually, cinematography was great. Would have preferred an extra few minutes, especially since this is a long film.
Oh, it
Like
is.
this is almost 2.5 hours. So if I'm sitting through this drama, I'm engulfed in this, and I'm loving the story. I kind of want to, pardon my language here. I kind of want a little more of a bigger climax. You know,
Yeah, I can agree
like
with
you
you.
got them here. They're in a volcano. They're in a volcano going at it with swords. Let's just extend it a few more minutes. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was trying to keep it as realistic as possible because how long is a sword fight of that caliber really going to go on for? And this movie's pretty historically accurate as far as a lot of things go, as far as
All right, I
set
mean, going
design,
historical
outfit.
accuracy. I mean, how long did that guy swim out from jumping off the boat? Skarsgård jump off the boat, and how many miles did he have to swim back to land?
Hey, don't fuck with Vikings, man. They do what they
Okay,
do.
just saying. It seemed like a couple miles away, and then he decided to bounce. It's like, all right, it's
Hey,
like
he was swimming breaststroke. You can, as long as there's no sea creatures in there that's going to eat you, you can swim breaststroke
I mean,
for
he's
a couple
probably determined
miles,
by the
no
fact that he
problem.
didn't want to pay child support. But
That's part of it. Yes.
hey, so I could have a loving family, but I kind of need to get my revenge.
Yeah, I like how he says to her, "I choose both." No, you didn't choose both,
Not
pal. You
really.
chose one of them. You chose one of them.
I guess his rationalization, well, if I don't kill him now because he knows who I am, he will come after, which it's true. There's a chance, but it's not a guarantee. All right, it's not like he's got GPS. He doesn't have Google Maps to the village in another country where he's going to
Yeah.
go kill your wife.
But as the wise Bruce Wayne once said, even if there's a fraction of a chance, you have to take it as an absolute certainty.
Ben Affleck says that quote with such badassery. It kind of glides over the fact that is so stupid.
Oh, it is, and he
That is
says it multiple
so
times
stupid.
in separate films. So why not insert into a third film that he's not even involved?
But you brought up the revenge and having both, and not really having both. I think what I liked about this movie is, and I mean, I pulled up the poster here just for this. The tagline for this film is "Conquer Your Fate." Now, what I like about the film is that this is not one of the films where it's, oh, the protagonist has to, fuck fate. You're going to make your own destiny. You're going to do your own thing and screw whatever's telling you got to do this and that. No, this is straight up. He is told this is what he wants to do. Like he wants to do this, right? He meets that witch person, right?
Yes,
And he wants revenge. She tells him this is what's going to happen. You're going to do it, and he completes it.
he does.
It's a bloody mess along the way, but he gets it done. He doesn't deviate from it. He could have stayed on the boat and had a family, but it's conquering your fate. The point of this movie is conquer your fate. He goes back, goes to the volcano, gets the job done.
Because his path was already written.
Yeah, which is kind of a weird story to tell, but that's why I appreciate it. Because usually films these days is you make your own path. So, like you said, his path is already written. He's just following that path,
Correct.
which I like. It's something different.
He may have made a detour here and there, but it's still
Yeah, the end
he
goal,
still
he
went
did it.
down. Yes. Yeah, I don't really have too much negative to say about this film, quite honestly.
One other scene that kind of stood out to me and just kind of felt like a video game scene is when he was in that after he becomes the a slave and he goes to that small cave and he hallucinates fighting this skeleton.
Yes.
That very much felt like a video game, like Dark Souls, Bloodborne kind of thing, with the 1-2 hit, the rolling back, where it's I mean, I could be playing Dark Souls right now and it's basically the exact same thing. It was awesome,
Man,
but
I mean, he
it's
he was tripping balls.
he was tripping balls. Oh, how can we not talk about seeing uh a fake wooden dick from Willem Dafoe?
I honestly didn't even remember until you brought it up.
Well, now you remember. And I guess another thing is what I like is everyone here is kind of morally gray. Like there's no true good guy or bad guy.
Except for the the main two antagonists, his mom and his uncle. I would say they're pretty bad.
I'm going to go slightly against you on that. Slightly.
All
Based
right,
off the fact.
have fun convincing me.
Okay. Well, look, I don't think I'm going to fully convince you, but I think the issue is for Nicole Kidman is like she says to her son that Ethan Hawke basically more or less raped her to conceive him. Right? It's not really a lot of love lost in that relationship. And in proxy of that, her to her son. Now, is she telling the truth? Is she giving a bullshit tale? We don't know. But if we take that as fact, that makes Ethan Hawke a morally gray character, right? His son looks up to him. His son thinks he's the best person alive. We get the realization, oh, he's a Viking. He might have raped a woman. And that kind of fits, you know?
What they're known for.
Yeah. And in regard to the brother, right? The brother that killed him and all that. I'm not saying he's a great guy, right? He did kill his brother. He did take over the throne. But he does, I do think, I don't think this is bullshit from him. I do think he genuinely does care for his family. When his sons start dying, he loses his shit. He is freaking out. So he may be a raging asshole. He's a murderous asshole for killing his brother. His own immediate family, he does truly care for. Doesn't make him a good guy. But I don't think he's the full-out evil guy that Skarsgard's character thinks he is. And look, let's go to Skarsgård. Cool. We're following him on his path for revenge. We know it's a righteous one. But how many people does he kill to get what he wants? Is he really that good of a guy by the end of it?
As are needed.
As are needed. Still, like, did they do anything directly to him that caused, like, fuck it, you got to go?
No, but then you could throw in the same vein of a few of them definitely deserved it.
I'm not saying they all didn't deserve. I'm just saying he by the end of the movie he becomes a morally gray character.
So you're saying everything links back to the Gray Man.
No, I was gonna say Lighthouse because everything's in black and white. Also, shout out to Robert Eggers for basically a homage to the Lighthouse at the beginning of the film. With the black and white intro with the volcano. I was like, oh, I thought, am I watching a Lighthouse sequel right now?
A prequel, the origin of the Lighthouse.
This is how the Lighthouse gets made.
Volcanoes.
Now, would you say for Robert Eggers? Now, I haven't seen his first film, The Witch. I watched Lighthouse, loved it, and I know you watched it yourself. Do you think this is a more accessible Robert Eggers film for the general public? Because he doesn't make films that like the average person can go walk in and be like, wow, this is great.
Well, to correct you, I have not seen The Lighthouse.
Oh, you haven't? Oh.
No, but I have seen The Witch.
Okay, so my point still stands, though. What do you think?
Yes, I think this is it could be wider received from audiences.
Mm-hmm.
Because The Witch is even more of a slow burn than The Northman. And the dialogue for The Witch is so painstakingly old English. It's hard to really wrap your head around it, and kind of like the dialogue itself is kind of rough, whereas this is a lot smoother of a watch, and it might have more for the everyday viewer. It's going to have your action, it's going to have your romance, it's going to have your betrayal plot.
Really going back to what we said, right. This is based off the mythology or the story that is basically the baseline for a lot of dramas and betrayals, that we all know and love.
Yeah, I could see it. So I guess it really comes down to this question. I think we all know the answer by this point, Tyler, but would you recommend any old viewer to go check this movie out if they haven't already?
I would say yes. Now, for the regular viewer, this is definitely a movie you got to pay attention to. You got to listen to what they say. Mike, you brought up a good point about The Witch with the old dialogue. The Northman also kind of has that older New England talking, and now we have ancient Viking talking. So Eggers clearly wants you to focus, because if you don't, you're not going to understand what they're saying.
That's accurate.
If you choose, I will say this: if you decide to sit down for 2.5 hours, you pay attention, you put the phone away. Right? This ain't one of those movies, rom-coms, where you can just scroll on Twitter halfway through. Sit down, you pay attention. You're going to get a great movie with some good action, good story, one you have seen before. This does not reinvent the wheel, because technically this is the story that a lot of everything is based off of for a good chunk of films. You're going to get great performances, good action, and you're going to have a good time.
I would concur with that assessment. I think you're relatively spot on. So that's all. That's a yes from me, dog.
I'm happy this film has finally made a small profit now. It didn't make one at the box office, but they came out and said VOD sales are so strong that they've now turned a profit on the film. Thank God.
Which I'm relatively surprised that VOD sales were that high, considering that you could get a Peacock subscription.
See, here's your mistake. You're thinking people know it exists.
Yeah, true.
Also,
true.
the other thing is Peacock's only available in the United States. If you're in Europe, you're in Africa or Asia, VOD or illegal is the only way you're watching it.
It's a fair point.
So, yeah.
But I think we've gone on long enough about what we think about the film. You all know what I'm going to say next. We want to know your thoughts on The Northman. Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Feel free to tell us why at Entertainment Expansion. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. As always, thank you for listening.